Right, good morning. This is Justice's Waiting Room. It's a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. I'm a socialist, so that just means I want everybody to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. We actually figured out how much it's going to cost. So, one of the things that happens when you start developing a party platform is people they want to verbal kung fu with you, right? And they say, "How are you gonna pay for it? How are you gonna pay for um, socialism?" And the just so you know, the answer is that currently you're overspending by about $8,000 per person per year on things like your education, your mortgage. You know, you're spending quite a bit of money, a minimum, like overspending by a minimum of 8 grand, right? And then about $2,000 a year in your taxes. That's the answer. So keep in mind all the smart people in the world. They already did the math. We already know what it costs. It costs about $2,000 a year more in your taxes. Okay. The link, the first link I post every day is this link to this daily live podcast called Justice's Waiting Room. The reason we've been calling it Justice's Waiting Room, okay, many of the people that I've met along the way here, I promised I'd message my kids. Skibbity, Jaden, Barney. Okay, Alex Murphy. Okay, so we're gonna brag on our kids. Well, first I gotta apologize. So let's do that first. Okay. When I say daily live podcast, generally speaking, I mean it. Okay. Yesterday is the exception. Okay. Yesterday was my wife's regular day off. So RDO. Okay. In addition to that, it was a federal fucking holiday. Okay. Um, News was sort of slow rolling. To be completely honest with you, I took a nap because, uh, frankly, nothing had happened, and then everything happened at once, and I fell into a deep slumber for a few hours on the couch in the living room with my wife, like dead ass. Maybe I got overwhelmed. I don't know, but I don't think that much had happened. But it's one of those things you just gotta like put a pin in that. What happened there? Why did I? Why did I? Nothing happened yesterday early, and like by 1:30, I was unconscious. Anyway, I had intended to do a late show last night to make it up because I wanted to do a show every day. Okay. And my kids called me on FaceTime. When I say my kids, I remember I'm a high school football coach. And my first year coaching high school football, I had two seniors, Jaden and Alex, quarterback and wide receiver, middle linebacker and safety. Okay. The two best players on our team, two leaders of our team. And they called me last night and we were talking, and instead of like describing our conversation in detail, I'll just tell you that it came around to the topic of news. And Jaden was actually watching the news. He was at his aunt's house and he's like, they're not talking about any of this shit on the news. And I was like, I know. Mainstream media is throwing a cover. It's Donald Trump wall to wall. Apparently, the New Orleans incident yesterday was a big deal on the news. Jaden told me, but he said outside of that, he watches the news every day and he don't hear none of this shit that I was going on about. Okay, and I told him, you know, I there was this Klan rally at Madison Square Garden in October, and I had to explain it to the point where they were like, "Oh, you mean the Republican National Convention that met October 21st at Madison Square Garden?" Yeah, the one where Tony Hinchcliffe got up there and just made some horrifically racist jokes. And they remembered then, right? Because they were like, "Oh yeah, I remember that." And I was like, "Yeah, I've been like pissed off. I was comfortable living a quiet life and just doing what I'm gonna do anyway." But like I said, I everybody has something that stir you up, right? And I said I started posting on TikTok, and I got like in 90 days or less, I got like 10,000 followers, dude, and like almost 100,000 likes. I said we end up getting banned from the platform for fighting, fighting with other people. And they were like, "Whatever, what are you doing now?" And I said, I was trying to get my audience over to YouTube because I'd never had an issue with YouTube at all. I've been creating content on this platform for over a decade now, and I've never had so much as a warning. I've had some awful things said in comments, but one of the things I learned a long time ago is don't read the comments. Okay, don't read into them either. And I think that's one of the things that keeps people from doing stuff in life is that they're worried about, well, what will be the perception of you? Well, here's what I've fucking learned in the last 3 months, culminating in a conversation I had with them boys last night. All we're doing is talking about what's actually going on in the world every day, consistently, keeping up with what's going on in the world every day. While every single day the wool gets pulled further and further down over the eyes of the average American who's not watching this podcast, that's for fucking sure, isn't going to TikTok and getting their news, right? There's still a vast majority of people that think the election went as planned. Here's what I want to make sure we talk about. At Christmas, the man of the house that we were at offered a prayer before meal, and he said, "Thank God that this was a free and fair election." I'm not even religious, and I was just like, ugh, I don't like the way that makes me feel. So just want to point that out because there's going to be other people that are going to be like, "Oh my God, something similar happened." That's the reason you tell stories about what's going on in your life as part of your daily live podcast where you talk about the news. Okay, so apologies that I didn't go live yesterday. It's none of the lame shit. I was sick. My dog ate my homework. No, no, no. Like, I was going to go live. Nothing had happened. Then stuff started happening, and by that time, I was just asleep. And then I thought, oh, I'll get on there tomorrow night watching football and go live. And my boys called me. My seniors called me. My first group of seniors. And the way I've kind of decided to do it is I think communication is a way to win. Good comms is a way you can just like you can just win stuff. And when I met Happy New Year, when I met Jaden and Alex, they didn't know what they were going to do after high school. They didn't have a guidance counselor, y'all. So I'm an assistant football coach. My head coach is like, it's you and them boys, and I'll try to coach up all these other young kids and teach them the fundamentals and stuff. You can work with them; they're a little more advanced. And long story short, none of that shit matters. Okay, but what I decided to do as a football coach is once you're like 18 and you've graduated high school, you're now in a group text. Okay, so for the record, I have two people in a group text that I like. Hey, good morning. Hope you're having a good week. Have a good weekend. Those kind of baseline for a text. Like I'm not fishing. I'm just saying, hey, good morning, boys. Right? Uh, and I've tried not to pry. I ask them, how's your grades? How's your grades doing? You having fun? That's all the fuck I care about. You getting good grades? Yes. Okay, perfect. You having fun? Is it fun? Do you like it? Okay, cool. That's it. I don't give a fuck about nothing else. Like I don't want to hear nothing else. Um, and so I had been kind of talking to them for a while about the importance of journalism and the importance of having like a journalistic perspective about things, and it rubbed off. So for the record, that people are like, get to the fucking news. I went live early. Suck a dick. uh but let me tell you this awesome shit. Them boys that didn't know what they wanted to do after high school, over the course of our time together, wound up at HBCUs, one in Alabama, one in North Carolina, and they changed their majors, both of them, to broadcast journalism. And this is before that conversation last night. And I had told them in our past conversations, since I knew that they're in broadcast journalism, all the more reason for us to do a show together, right? Do something together, right? How cool would that be? And so last night they called me and we were on a FaceTime and it was the three of us and we were bouncing around talking about a million different things. But the boys were like, "Hey, yeah, this is good. We should do a show." So look for something like that coming down the pipe. I got one of the things that I've decided, haha, is if the kids will have me, I'll stay a part of your life. Right? Unlike every adult man I have ever met in my life. And keep this in mind, like I'm not gay or have any gay tendency, right? So understand, like I'm not sitting here up unhappy with my relationship with men because most of the men I've ever met are pieces of shit, right? So there's very few adult men that you like actively would appreciate having a relationship with. But one of the things that has always stuck for me is that I have no relationship with any person that coached me in any sport from my entire life. I don't know any of them people. And so, what I decided when I got into coaching and what got me wanting to be a coach was the understanding of like life's precious, it could end at any moment, and like I have no legacy. I don't have kids. I don't have like some endowment to bestow upon the city of Indianapolis. Like I have nothing, right? If I just die, just bury me, not even buried. I'm getting cremated, right? Like, so I have no legacy, right? So that's part of the reason I get into coaching is like, hopefully you can instill in kids good behaviors, right? And so to end up and it didn't take very long. Didn't take very long, less than 6 months in college before them boys circle back to, you talked about everything fucking sucks. You want to play sports after high school because generally you're going to be taken care of and fed, and that's what I care about. And so it's like I just want to make sure you're fed and that somebody gives a shit about you, and so play sports, and then ultimately journalism just I think if you hang around me naturally you're going to become sort of interested in this because I source my arguments, right? I don't have these idiotic thoughts that y'all have to fucking worry about. I'm talking to my audience. You guys don't have to regulate my thoughts because I'm some fucking half-baked kook, right? Like generally speaking, I have my fucking shit together, right? So there's a lot fucking going on. Lots been going on. There's a reason I got on early today. Okay, so first of all, thank you. There are 10 people in here. In my eyes, 10 people. That's like a shitty AA meeting. Okay, so sorry for those of you that have been in AA as well. Um, just make sure that you try to get 8 hours of sleep a night or more. Naps are fucking awesome. Okay. Um, you need to treat yourself well. You need to eat 3 meals a day. You need to drink water. You need you need to exercise. one of the sayings that I tell my boys, for example, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Savvy? Um, so I try to instill in them the desire to like play sports year round, right? And so hopefully it translates, right? And they go to college and they realize like everything fucking sucks, man. Let's play sports. Let's do something with our body, right? Try. But yeah, for them to also reach out and want to establish, right? I think they realized what I was saying, right? I think they went and got a little taste of college and they realized like he's right. Like there are no teachers keeping in touch with kids that are in college just saying like are you getting good grades? How's it going? Like are inquisitive at all. And I'm not prying, right? So I want to make sure I establish that too. I'm not also prying. I don't care about your relationships or parties. I'm not asking about that shit. Are you having fun and are you getting good grades? Then you are doing perfectly. Just have fun and get good grades. Fuck all that other shit. Okay? So for them to go to college, reach out to me and say we ought to do something like a show together. I'm about that life. Okay? So there was a bunch of things that happened yesterday that we gotta talk about. And one of the things that someone in my Discord said, so shout out to my Discord, okay? Okay. So somebody said, Valerie F. There's too much happening for nothing to be happening. And we're gonna put a pin in that. Okay. And the first things first, the lead story, period, nationwide, maybe not worldwide. There was a terrorist attack in New Orleans. Okay. 42-year-old former army with an ISIS flag in his truck drove into a crowd of people and killed 10. Injured a bunch of other people. Okay. First of all, I fucking love New Orleans. Full disclosure, before I got kicked off of Twitter, you know what I was doing? My wife and I were learning fucking French Cajun as our personal communication language. And I was learning it off of a TikToker. So for the record, that's what I was getting out of TikTok is I was learning a code language with my wife. So that's what. Now, why would we need that, right? Anyway, so obviously, uh, I I empathize greatly with the city of New Orleans. I've been to Mardi Gras. I've had an absolute blast. One of the things that the New Orleans has on just about everywhere in the world is food, walkable distance, like insanely good food, walkable distance from like the party part of town. So it's like in Indy, if you want to go to like a nice restaurant, it's a couple block walk from there to the bars. Good to go. But in New Orleans, the food is fantastic just about everywhere you fucking go. And there's bars right there, man, right there. So it's a good time if that's what you want to do, drink and be merry and all that. Hey, New Orleans is the shit. So obviously my heart goes out to New Orleans because I have really good memories of being there. The several times I've been in New Orleans in my life, incredible. What a great time. So for it to wind up postponing a football game, and for the record, before we go too far into that, because that's kind of the next story. Okay, remember I'm a football coach, so there's going to be some times we lean in a direction, and you're like, "Why are we talking about that?" And like, I'm a football coach, so I had thought for a long time that there would be no movement along the means to like the intention to address like mental health as a crisis until it fucks with football. And I've been saying this for a while. Like it's gonna take it directly impacting football for anything to get done. And so, as a result of this terrorist attack in New Orleans, where again a 42-year-old former not, I was gonna say Green Beret, but that's so lame. Former army soldier with the ISIS flag in his truck who had posted a video claiming allegiance to ISIS. So before anybody, yes, Loria, I agree with you. And so again, I want to make, because I don't want people to think I'm like a senseless asshole. What I'm saying is I've felt like, man, like beleaguered, I think is a good feeling, a good way to describe it. I've been beleaguered about violence in this country, about especially gun violence in this country. And I've been like, when it fucks with football, I guess they'll do something about it. And so I don't, again, I don't, hopefully I'm explaining myself clearly where it's like, I'm not wishing ill on anyone. I'm saying like they've sat on their hands and done nothing. And in my brain, I'm like, maybe when it interrupts a football game, like Bane in Batman. You gotta remember that shit in the Steelers game. Anyway, so um, the fact that they postponed the Sugar Bowl, in which Notre Dame was supposed to play in. Do you know how much money was lost? And they'll make money hand over fist. Don't worry about it. But that I think I hope, God I hope that that triggers something, something. I don't know what. I don't have the solutions for absolutely everything, and sometimes things happen, and I get fucking overwhelmed and have to take a nap. Okay, so there there was a fucking terrorist attack in New Orleans, y'all, that suspended a fucking football game, and then I think outside of that story, the next big story is gonna be uh, the Cybertruck blowing up in front of the Trump casino in Las Vegas. And again, the preliminary ballistics report showed fireworks and a makeshift bomb, is what I'd heard early, is that it was indeed a bomb placed in a container of fireworks. Is that correct? But I think that's the next biggest story. Obviously, I think it's allegory for their relationship. Ultimately, I think that they're very much alike, Donald and Elon. And they had a lot of confidence, and they did it all. You know what I mean? They really did it all. Won themselves a presidency and all seven swing states, and every state in the country shifted right, and he won, guys. He won everything. Yep, except each other. And I think that there are claims out there that Donald Trump is gay. And I haven't mostly talked about it because I have gay friends, and so it's like weird, right? Like I don't want to attribute this to them being gay lovers or anything. But that's the fucking rumor. Is like Elon's a little concubine. Donald's Donald's got Elon staying at a cottage on his property. Like it's like a mini house, like 700 feet from him. And I'm just like, that's so weird. Weird. Why wouldn't Elon just buy himself a house? It's not like he doesn't have the money. What's he staying in a little cottage for? That sounds so awkward. Late night pillow talks, I guess. So, I think the the thought process behind all these attacks is to stress these three-letter agencies while they're trying to file these reports. But I just want to make sure everybody understands something that apparently people don't understand. There are hundreds of thousands of agents that work for these agencies. It's foolish. It is foolish for whoever's doing all this shit, whoever the mastermind is behind all these terrorist attacks. You aren't doing what I think that you're trying to do, and that's stress three-letter agencies into putting out sham reports as a result of like their investigation into this election. It doesn't work like that. And so I get it. There are gonna be people like, "What the fuck?" Unless like it's I whole ass think that there's. For the record, let's change subjects because now I sound like a fucking idiot. But like, think about Bezos' yacht getting run up on yesterday, right? And then being there for like 3.5 hours. And it's like that's long enough to interview and get a confession and written stuff. And it's like all these billionaires, the Polymarket CEO, who else? Right after the election, Alfie Oakes, right? All these CEOs keep getting run up on by the feds, uh, gatted in the middle of the street. And somebody asked, so this kind of is a button on all of this. Somebody asked, like, terrorism charges for Luigi Mangione? And I want to make sure that I keep saying, innocent until proven guilty. Luigi Mangione is currently the lead suspect. He's like the prime suspect in the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. I'm not even going to say his name. Not even going to do you the service. Okay? Um, I don't think he did it. So, I have said that I saw many pictures after the shooting of a person meant to be the suspect, and I think it was a different person in all four pictures. And that if you discount skin color, right? So just take skin color off the map, and that's not what you're looking at. Look at the noses. Look at the eyebrows. You know what I mean? Look at discernible features that aren't like the. It's kind of crazy to ask a country full of racists to not look at skin color first when you look at a photo, but you get what I'm saying. You're looking at eyebrows, you're looking at the shape of the nose, and it's all different. So I think innocent until proven guilty. Luigi Mangione didn't fucking do it, and terrorism charges. So let's talk about terrorism. Okay, um, I think an ISIS flag on a pickup truck and a 42-year-old former soldier driving into a crowd of people in New Orleans, that's a terrorist attack. That was 100% not just intended to injure and fucking hurt people, but like scare people. Okay? Um I don't think that one murder of one person is terrorism. Um, it'd be different if they had attacked other CEOs or if they had some track record that said, they're going after them. I hope I'm making my points. I don't think he did it. I don't think Luigi Mangione is actually the shooter. He may be involved. I'll acquiesce to that. I'll say, he maybe had a hand in it, turned himself in, had the murder weapon on him, right? But he he it's almost like he knows. You know what I mean? He was the way he was moving, bandying about, getting led into I think it was into the jail from a vehicle, and he was a miscarriage of the justice system, and you're just like, huh. And also I want to keep pointing out, it doesn't appear like the person that called Luigi in got paid. So there's that. But yeah, um, man, there was more stuff going on. Jesus Christ. And it's very difficult. There's like a bunch of shit. Jesus. Okay, so let's here's a link on the terrorist attack in New Orleans. Okay. Okay. And then let's see. Hey, you know what's great? The timing on this article is fantastic. A criminally low number of people are being actual murder balled. So look at this fucking look at this headline. US poised to see dramatic drop in homicides for third straight year. More than 5,000 fewer homicides have been recorded this year compared to 2023. So, with CEOs getting dropped in the streets, the news is like not enough people are dying. Anyway. Oh shit. But yeah, I think another a story that kind of went flying under the radar a couple days ago. So on fucking New Year's Eve, Puerto Rico didn't have power. Those are Americans. So uh apparently it was being restored. It was a major outage. So the reason that you report on it is because it wasn't a minor fucking thing. The whole goddamn island was without power. Um Oh, and I think this is also significant. Okay. This is from the BBC. Okay. Crypto fugitive Do Kwon extradited to the U.S. over a $40 billion crash. Okay. Multi-billion-dollar crypto asset security fraud. Who does that sound like? Kamala Harris? Yeah, I know, right? He was extradited to the United States. I think it's one of those stories that's going to get flown under the radar. When you think about the Polymarket CEO being raided, I know I'm tying things together that don't necessarily tie together, but part of news is saying like Elon Musk moved a bunch of money on the Polymarket app, right? Do Kwon is being extradited to the United States over a $40 billion market crash that he orchestrated. And my inference is like these are all somehow connected. Come on. Come on. They're gonna get a story. They're gonna get a statement out of Do Kwon, right? And then, on the news thing, not even a huge story about the truck on fire in front of the. Yeah, not even on the first page. Okay. Um, and again, I don't want to ever alarm anyone. So one of the things that we do in this show, it's on the same idea. One of the things we do differently on our show than we do anywhere else is if I'm talking about it, I'm probably going to try to put a link here. And it's going to be a good one. You see how these are CBS News, ABC News, AP News, BBC? So I'm putting in your hand the truth and saying, like, these are things that actually happen. Every now and then I'll weave in an inference where, like, I'm tying those Polymarket shit and Elon and fucking Do Kwon all together because I fucking can do that, right? Um, I think this is significant. A significant story is Ukraine's president saying that 30% of the weapons and gear used by Ukraine's military was domestically made. Like the fact that they're able to produce 30% of the weapons and gear that they're using is a notable achievement amidst this war in Russia. With Russia, sorry, not in Russia. I mean, kind of in Russia. That's kind of doesn't even matter. Um, but I'm trying to find friends. Uh, Cybertruck explosion. Okay. Yeah, 18 hours ago. Okay, and it's just a video. There's no reason to do. Yeah. Yeah, and you can see how there's fire trucks at the end, or fireworks. Sorry. So yeah, I think that that's again. I don't think that that's a terrorist attack. Apparently, it's being investigated, right, by the FBI as a terrorist attack. Again, because the belief is that there was an explosives placed with those fireworks. Um, and obviously, it being a Tesla in front of a Trump casino is, mwah, that's about it. That's really about it. It's just nice. Okay. In terms of big stories today, okay. First big story of the day is gonna be Kamala Harris's message. Um, I listened to it, and she didn't talk about running in 26 or 28 for anything. So, for anybody looking for um, necessarily like a breadcrumb, no, no, there was nothing there. That was just a generic Happy New Year message, if you ask me. Um, and I think that's where I'm comfortable leaving it for now, unless it's somebody gets me the transcript, I read through that, and oh, let's pick out this little breadcrumb. Or what one? Okay. Um, Up there, talking about the vice president, I want to point this out. I think one of my uh, Discord members pointed this out as well. So, President Joe Biden is set to give um, the Presidential Citizens Medal. I think it's like the second highest award you give to civilians. To the January 6th congressional panel. Awesome timing, Joe. I just think what they don't say is more than what they do say. That's right, Valerie. So yeah, I think this is significant. This is from AP. Again, we try to have really good sources, right? This is AP. Biden's given the second highest civilian award to the leaders of the January 6th Congressional Committee. That's Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson. Okay. He'll award it the Presidential Citizens Medal to 20 people in a ceremony Thursday at the White House. Okay. Good morning. Just going over the news. Okay. But again, I one of the major drivers, the reason I got on here early this morning was I just kind of realized, you know, most people are at work all day and they don't have access to their phones. So they have no concept of breaking news. Most people, I'm guessing by the numbers, have stopped watching the news because it's pretty clear to me in the last 24 hours, I've had these sorts of conversations. Here's what's really going on in the world. Sorry, I'm pointing in the wrong direction. Here's what's really going on in the world. Okay. All these links that we're sharing about things that are actually fucking happening. And then what is the news talking about? Not not talking about, did Luigi Mangione, first of all, the person that they got tipped off, that had, and again, I'd said he was too precise at the time of the attack to be that sloppy at the pickup. That's when, at the arrest, at the time of giving himself to the police, he just gave him everything, had it all on him. Like, the fuck out of here. The behaviors don't match the people. And then, listen, I've been saying this, okay? One, having been around generations of men in my life, one of the common one of the common things that we have. Men love Fight Club, especially white boys. Okay, and I've been saying since that CEO was put down, Lori said I get all my news from TikTok. I be careful about that. Okay, as long as it's reputable, who cares where you get it, really? Okay. For generations upon generations of men, okay, we've been told to suck it up and stop crying and just keep it fucking moving. You're the leader, all that shit. And there's a lot of guys that the justice system doesn't work for them, the healthcare system doesn't work for them. You know, the job market doesn't work for them. And so, with no hope and no education, what is, and again, I'm not being funny. If it sounds like I'm being funny, hey, I have to live with that. Okay. But while you chew on this, I'm going to finish my Pop Tart. Okay. What's to keep all these MMA fans, all these UFC fans who love Fight Club from developing an underground network of the island of misfit toys, that the world doesn't work for us and we're going to make the world work for us. And people are going to be like, "Oh my god, Jared, you sound like you're like supporting this and leading it." And it's like, "No. No, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just spitballing." And they're in every facet of society. Police, fire, right? Those aren't ungettable jobs. They they work in the ports, and they work in inventory, and they work in production and mechanism, they're machinists and shit. And when they're not at work, they're spending a couple hours a day, 2, 3 nights a week in a gym somewhere, rolling around on a mat, just keeping their cardio up. Spending a night or two a week at the range, just keeping their shot up, right? Nothing I've said sounds impossible. None of those things sound impossible. Guy's got a full schedule. Yeah. Think about veterans. Think about all the people that have worked in like securities and law enforcement that aren't veterans. So then you realize it's like a healthy percentage of uh, 100 million, I'd say. Easy. Easy. Because you got to remember, one of the things that I learned when I went, because I've been to college like 3 different times, only like 20% of men will graduate. So think about that. If 100 men go to college, only like 20 of them are going to graduate from college. What happens to the other 80? It's not like they just die off. They're still here. But what happened to them? What happened? And think about people have shut off the news, right? Stop watching the news. They're not seeking the truth at all. This shit happens with Luigi Mangione, right? I'm ignoring kind of what happened in New Orleans, what happened in Vegas. You know what I mean? There was a mass shooting in Montenegro, right? Like these other incredible, acts of violence, and ultimately saying like, do I think what Luigi Mangione deserves a terrorism charge? No. Again, I don't even think he did it. And that's what makes it such a crazy situation is that there are people who are just as smart as I am that are like, wait a minute, Jared, he like had the gun on him in a manifesto, and he turned himself in. Mm. Did you see how he acted going into the jail there? Didn't seem like it. Maybe he lost his mind. Is an acceptable. answer. And just to put a pin in this, like I said, I'm gonna eat my Pop-Tart real quick. Uh, when I was in high school, the kids that got first and second in my class, the valedictorian and the salutatorian, were fucking psychos. And I'm gonna tell you, and then I'm gonna put myself on mute real quick. Okay. And I could say their names because it's been like more than 20 years now, and who gives a fuck? But Lance Evans literally stole. We worked at a dealership. He stole a Cadillac Escalade in Mooresville, in the town we grew up in, filled it full of drugs and cash, and tried to drive through drive into Mexico and like escape and shit. And now he was in a Mexican prison. I think his dad bailed him out. But yeah, so that was the valedictorian when I was in high school, and his best friend, the salutatorian, Chris Shipley. He used a bow. I think it was a bow and arrow with a with like a fire arrow, and shot it into Lance's parents' yard, and they had like this wagon set up in their yard with like bales of hay, and Mrs. Evans seasonally decorated it, and she'd had it for fucking years, and it was like when you went by their house, you're like, oh, look what she did with that little wagon she has. Yeah, he burnt that down. Those were the fucking smart kids. The kids that had the 4.0 GPAs were crazy. So, and again, I don't think he did it. I don't think he's the one that pulled the trigger. I think he's the one that turned it. He's a fall guy. Anyway, I'll leave you to chew on that in the comments. There are 19 people here. So again, make sure you get 8 hours of sleep. Like this is what I do. I don't know if you figured it out yet. Every like 10 people, I get kind of excited. I'm like, "Ooh, we're a bigger room now." So 20 is like a kindergarten class, okay? So, yeah, they have smaller class sizes for kindergarten, more teachers. It's like a kindergarten class. Um, I'm gonna try to hit you with the theme, right, and make sure you understand. Like, I'm giving you good general life advice that applies to everybody, no matter where you are. You need 8+ hours of sleep a night, and naps are fantastic. Okay. You may feel like you have too much going on in your life to sleep 8 hours a night, and I digress. There's nothing going on in your life worth you not getting 8 hours of sleep per night. And if you aren't able to do that, my dear, I suggest you start developing some boundaries. Okay? Outside of you must sleep 8+ hours a night, and naps are fantastic. I've also learned you get whatever you do, you also whatever you do during the day has to allow you to sleep at night. So along the way there are people that have forgotten about this, but it isn't just that you need 8 hours of sleep to perform at your utmost potential. It's also whatever you're fucking doing during the day also's got to let you sleep at night. Savvy? And then the most important thing outside of getting a full night's rest is nutrition. Like, you gotta eat right. I'm about to put myself on mute and eat a fucking Pop Tart, and that is not what I'm talking about, but it's filling a hole. Good to go? And you gotta drink water. You, like, if you don't have access to clean water and you're not drinking water regularly, I recently told my audience a story about my best friend and how he got hurt. He literally pulled his back, and then at the same time, his right leg went fucking numb, and he could barely walk for like a week. By the time he got to his doctor, do you know what his doctor figured out? You were just fucking dehydrated. So his like body like stopped working because he was so dehydrated. That's what happens when you get old. Kids don't ever get old. Okay? So just something to nibble on in terms of hydration, because people are always like, "Oh, that's such bullshit." Yeah, until your fucking body shuts down. Then you'd be like, yeah, maybe I should have been drinking water this whole time. Yeah. Okay, so we gotta get 8 hours of sleep. We gotta eat right. We gotta fucking hydrate. Okay, and then you gotta exercise. Okay, and here's what I've learned. Do you know why people give up going to the gym? Because they're not getting the results they're looking for. And this isn't an ad. I know what it sounds like, but this isn't an ad. I heard myself as I started to turn that corner, and I was like, God damn it, Jared, you sound like you're about to sell people something. Hold on. All I'm asking you to do is create an, maybe you need an extra outfit a day. Hear me. The science says you got to split your movement and your lift. So, what I recommend as your coach and someone who also ran the strength and conditioning program at my high school and was there at 6 a.m. every morning working out with my kids, who, because I'm a big ass man, it only took me like 90 days, and my 40-plus-year-old ass is stronger than these fucking high school kids. Hello, I'm trying to help you feel like I feel good about you and yourself, right? But what science says is you have to split your lift and your movement, and they need to be at the opposite ends of the day for peak performance. So not only do you have to do your movements, and when I say movements, that's your sprints, your runs, what your walks, whatever the fuck, you're just trying to get some steps in, do that before you go to bed. Okay? And your lift within an hour of waking up. And the reason that you do that is because if you don't do that and you do a lift and a movement, you're going to get shitty results for both of those things, and you're going to fucking quit. And so the only reason that my wife and I don't do this is because she doesn't want to do the laundry. She's like, "You get me a new washer and dryer, and fine, I'll do our lift, our walk at the end of the day and our lift at the beginning." Okay. Um, so yeah, I want to make sure as I come across really good information that more people need to know, like what is actually going on in the world. Every now and then I'm going to give you some little coaching stuff I've learned. How to become a better athlete, and why most people that go to the gym stop going to the gym because they're not seeing results. And I just told you, if you want to see better results, you have to split your movement and your lift. In fact, if you're going to do both in the same day, and I'm not saying to do that or not to do that, so don't take this as me saying, well, the easy solution is to not have a movement and a lift on the same day. Right. And I also live on Earth. So every now and then I'm just going to say that's not fucking feasible, Derek, and we're going to fucking lift and move on the same day. We're just going to split those up as much as we can. Okay? And that'll generally get you better results athletically. That's my dissertation. I'm going to mute myself and eat this Pop Tart. You know how I know no one's showing up for Donald Trump's inauguration? Donald Trump's going to have a rally on January 19th in Washington, D.C. What? Why are. So he's going to suck them in, get them to come to the rally, and then try a repeat of January 6th on January 20th? Is that I've said it. I've said it. Oh, there's all these, there's 1,500 paramilitary groups and it's the same 17 people. Most of them are in jail. Anyway, I'm going to finish my Pop Tart. I just thought that was funny. For the record, that was a strawberry Pop Tart. Thank you for not being too angry with me, literally eating on a podcast. It's one of the ways I've chosen to humanize myself is kind of joking that I'm doing what I was going to do anyway. Okay. Because now I have an audience. Lori said, not hearing much about the guy in Virginia that had 150 man made bombs. What's up with that? Well, that guy's a terrorist in the making. So, something that maybe maybe we haven't discussed. I don't talk much about. But I actually am like I was an 0351 in the Marine Corps Infantry, which is an assaultman, which means in addition to being a rifleman, like every Marine, I also went to demolition school, so I learned how to make bombs, and I also rockets is kind of the other half of my job. Yeah, and so demolition and rockets are kind of my shit. Okay, no, nope. I mean, it's gonna help. You find somebody with a bunch of explosives. No, I think that they did that. I think they did that. Um, Tracking Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's where she got her bomb. Remember, she's the 1/6 pipe bomber. You may be able to change your appearance, but you can't change your walk, like how you walk. And yes, this is the host of the news show that you choose to watch that does not believe Luigi Mangione is the murderer. And also, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is the 1/6 pipe bomber. Those are the conspiracies that I'm currently actually I made them up. I didn't hear anybody else say it. It's not like somebody was like, Jared, look at this article where they call Marjorie Taylor Greene the 1/6 pipe bomber. I haven't heard that shit. So I feel pretty uh like that's original thoughts there, Jared. And also, this is the kind of shit. Yeah, no shit. That's why Lori said. Someone in my chat said he's a white dude. That's why MTG wants a pardon. hmm But yeah, here's a cute little overlay that'll get you all pissed off to start your new year. Uh, Somebody did an overlay of all the counties that flipped blue to red with all of the bomb threats from election day. And if this doesn't piss you off and tell you exactly what fucking happened, look at the counties that flipped with the bomb threat overlay, and you'll realize, like, holy shit. What'd they do? They called in a bomb threats to polling locations. It evacuated those locations. They had to power down, power back on. Somebody had to go in there with a badge. That person was loyal, either that or their card they used or something planted malware into the systems, the voting systems. It literally changed people's votes. I know I sound like a fucking crazy person talking about it, but wait until they fucking figure it out. I mean, they already did the math. Mathematically, it's like you could open this ballot and look at it, and it'll show you exactly what we want to show you. It's gonna happen. But yeah. So let's see. We've talked about Jesus. It's tough. I think this is the hardest part about talking about the news, right? Because it's like terrorist attack in New Orleans. Some Tesla Cybertruck blows up in front of in her white ski jacket. This is the hard part about the job. Is like there's nothing, and then it comes in waves, and it can get overwhelming. Where you're like, holy fuck, there's just so much going on. They're saying 15 killed. I said 10. Let's see. And there are a lot of veterans, by the way, that feel um, shit on by the military and shit on by their country. And if you had something happen to you while you're on active duty that's got you all fucked up, you need to contact the Wounded Warrior Project and you need to get the benefits that you need and deserve. And that's like part of my shtick, right? I don't ask for money anymore. I stopped doing that shit because it made me feel like less of a person and more of a fucking robot. Um, but I will point you to the Wounded Warrior Project. And I've had people that are a part of my audience that have been like, "Hey, I donated to the Wounded Warrior Project in your name," and it's like fucking cool. That's better than getting money. Okay, so if you're looking to support the show and you're like, don't know how, don't even worry about me. Wounded Warrior Project. And again, if you're a veteran, there's plenty of veterans out there that just feel like they got nothing in return for their service. And while I can't personally give you anything, I don't got anything you want anyway. I could point you toward Wounded Warrior Project. At least they ain't gonna cost you money. Okay, at least they'll help you and they don't cost you money. Okay, and if there's something that I could tell other people to support, it's something that's also not gonna cost them money. Right, and that's not what we're trying to do here. Yo, yo, look at this shit. There's a fireworks accident in Honolulu, killed 3 people, injured 20. And then here's there was a shooting spree, Montenegro, 12 people. So we had a wild 24 to 36 hours here to start uh 2025. Kind of goes without saying, by the way. Goes without saying. Have had a wild start to 2025. I think this is a good indicator. I keep saying Ukraine's going to become a NATO member, right? Well, there's Ukraine ending the supply of Russian gas to Europe. Okay, and then people wonder why CEOs keep getting dropped in broad daylight, and here's why. Here's why. I'll put it in the chat right now. Drug makers to raise U.S. prices on over 250 medicines starting on January 1st. So, if anybody wondered why I won't even do that CEO the justice of saying his name, is because it doesn't matter who's in that position. Their job is to drive profits to shareholders, and the best way to do that is to say no to the customer. and refuse to cover their work. I'm looking at news links to see if there's anything popping out. Okay. But yeah, one of the things that's like recurring, my wife will tell you too, right? Some of the shit that we'll be talking about and I'll bring up, she's like, "Where the fuck did you see that? It happened. Here's a news article." She's like, "Oh my god!" Like, I can understand why people say like shit gets overwhelming and it's hard. Like, it's not hard to come up with the content. Just so everybody knows, it's just hard to like yesterday. I felt like it was a little bit of a slow start to a day, which is completely fine as a holiday. And like I said, it just came in waves. And what happened was like not eventful. It was, when I say not eventful, it was not fun. It was like bad news on bad news on bad news. And for me, it was just like crash out, like go to sleep. Um, a lot of people are referencing this TikTok about Executive Order 14024. So, we've been talking about prosecuting election crimes and Executive Order 13848 for a long time on my show. So, here's a link to a subreddit post that has both the executive order in it and the DOJ's prosecution of election crimes. And what we're going to do is we're going to look up Executive Order 14024. Okay. Russian harmful foreign activities sanctions. Okay. Yeah, it was totally overwhelming. Yeah. Well, it manifested itself yesterday. I literally took like a 2, 3 hour nap. And my wife was, let me sleep on the couch. She was like, "I thought you were going to go do a show." And she said, "You looked at your phone and just laid it down and went to sleep." So, yeah, a lot of what. Yeah, 14024. I'm reading, sorry. Blocking property with respect to specified harmful foreign activities of the government of the Russian Federation. Wait, hold on here. Really? All right. Oh my goodness. Is it okay if I read this? Is it okay if I read this to you? This is Executive Order 14024, April April 15th, 2021. Okay. It's titled "Blocking Property with Respect to Specified Harmful Foreign Activities of the Government of the Russian Federation." By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So we've talked about this. IEEPA, the National Emergencies Act, NEA, and Section 301 of Title 3 U.S. Code. I, Joseph R. Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, find that the specified harmful foreign activities of the government of the Russian Federation, in particular efforts to undermine the conduct of free and fair democratic elections and democratic institutions in the United States and its allies and partners, to engage in and facilitate malicious cyber-enabled activities in the United States and its allies and partners, to foster and use transnational corruption to influence foreign governments, to pursue extraterritorial activities targeting dissidents or journalists, to undermine security in countries and regions important to United States national security, and to violate well-established principles of international law, including respect for the territorial integrity of states, constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy, and the economy of the United States. I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. Yeah, I saw this like 2 days ago. So, accordingly, I hereby order Section 1, all properties and interests in property that are in the United States, that hereafter come within the United States, or that are or hereafter come within the possession or control of any United States person of the following persons, are blocked and may not be transferred, paid, exported, withdrawn, or otherwise dealt in. A, any person deemed by the Secretary of the Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State with respect to subsection A3 of this section, in consultation with the Attorney General, or by the Secretary of State in consultation with the Secretary of the Treasury, and with respect subsection A2 of this section, in consultation with the Attorney General. I, to operate or have operated in the technology sector or the defense and related materials sector of the Russian Federation economy, or any other sector of the Russian Federation economy, as may be determined by the Secretary of the Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State. 2, to be responsible for, or complicit in, or have directly or indirectly engaged or attempted to engage in any of the following for, on behalf of, or for the benefit of, directly or indirectly, the government of the Russian Federation. A, malicious cyber-enabled activities. B, interference in a United States or foreign government election. C, actions or policies that undermine democratic processes or institutions in the United States or abroad. Or D, transnational corruption. E, assassination, murder, or other unlawful killing of or infliction of other bodily harm against the United States person or citizen or national of a United States ally or partner. F, activities that undermine the peace, security, political stability, or territorial integrity of the United States, its allies, or its partners. Or G, deceptive or structured transactions or dealings to circumvent any United States sanctions, including through the use of digital currencies or assets, or the use of physical assets. 3, to have been a leader, official, senior executive officer, or member of the board of directors of the government of the Russian Federation, an entity that has or whose members have engaged in any activity described in subsection A2 of this section, an entity whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to this order, to be a political subdivision, agency, or instrumentality of the government of the Russian Federation, to be a spouse, adult, child of any person whose property and interest property are blocked pursuant, to have material assisted, sponsored, or provided financial aid, material, technology, and support for, or goods or services in support of any activity. Section 3. Unrestricted immigrant and non-immigrant entry into the United States of non-citizens serving to meet one or more criteria. That's interesting. So if you wondered why this is important, you're starting to see people come out and say they can't take money anymore. So I don't know if you've put two and two together yet there, Lori. But let's talk about Laura Loomer, Nick Fuentes no longer being able to conduct banking transactions. And you can tie this back to Tenet Media, who is paying Americans to distribute pro Russian stuff and things. Okay? So for anybody kind of wondering, how does all this? Yeah, it does. Because this this can block the property of people like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Um, yeah. So people have asked me about this Executive Order 13848, and where are we, Jared? Okay. And so here's where I think we are. We're in the second of 45 days into this investigation. Okay. So we're past Section 1, Part A. Okay, so it says no, and this is Executive Order 13848. This is different from the one we already read, where it just talked about blocking material. And basically, that's how you figure out like how all them people can no longer accept money. 14024. It blocked their property. Can't be transferred, issued, moved, can't do none of that shit. All them people's bank accounts are frozen, their credit accounts frozen, they cannot do anything. Yep. Laura Loomer and Nick Fuentes are down the list a little bit, but hey, all them other people, their money still works. Their money's still good. They got a pile of money sitting around. You spend that up. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Hey, remember, the hands of justice, they move slowly but swiftly. And so when you're thinking like, man, things ain't happening fast enough, and it's like, yeah, hey, I've been doing this every day for how long? And we only took one day off. And that was yesterday. And that was because it was just a slow news morning. There was nothing going on. And then everything happened at once yesterday. And it was fucking overwhelming. Right. So I apologize for, my brain being like, fucking rest. Right. And then, like I said, I was even going to go live last night, and my boys called me, my players called me, and they were talking about like some of the shit that you were talking about is just not being reported in the news. And like, it just so happened that Jaden was watching the fucking news, and he's like, yeah, they're not talking about a terrorist attack in New Orleans. They're not talking about this shit in, you know what I mean? The election, you know? But yeah, so Section 1A of Executive Order 13848 says not later than 45 days after the conclusion of a United States election. I want to put a pin in this and talk about it real quick, okay? That says of a United States election. That does not say a presidential election. So understand that the reports that were turned in was on every election in this cycle. Savvy? And 45 days after the conclusion of the election was on November 5th. That would be election day. Okay, it's the last day of the election. Okay? 45 days later, a report was due. Okay? Um, the director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate executive departments and agencies, shall conduct an assessment. Ting! Is this why DJT just transferred his holdings to Junior? I wonder, has his assets been frozen? Or has he caught wind of his assets being frozen? But anyway, so back to 13848. Okay. An assessment of any information indicating that a foreign government or any person acting as an agent of or on behalf of a foreign government has acted with the intent or purpose of interfering in that election. The assessment shall identify to the maximum extent ascertainable the nature of any foreign interference and any methods employed to execute it, the persons involved in the foreign government or governments that authorized, directed, sponsored, or supported it. The Director of National Intelligence shall deliver this assessment and appropriate supporting information to the President, the Secretary of State, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, and the Secretary of Homeland Security. Okay? So that's Section A. That ended December 20th. And one of the things that I want to point out, and keep in mind, most of my audience knows this, but I just told you the kids I just coached in high school football that are freshmen in college that still watch the news, they don't know none of this shit. Okay? So remember the president and vice president rushing back to the White House on the eve of December 20th? This is why. And it's because those reports were probably classified. And notice that Section A does not list the vice president, aka the person who's in charge of discharging this election. She has to be in the same room as the president in order to see these documents. She has to be given access to them. So, for everybody putting two and two together at this moment, you're like, wait, holy shit. Yeah, Donald Trump signed this in 2018, trying to catch somebody in 2020, and they didn't cheat. He did, right? It's just he didn't cheat enough to win. He got actually beat because Joe Biden's like actually a good president and a good political candidate, and he fucking destroyed Donald Trump in the election. That's why Donald Trump didn't win. You can't walk that down. Okay. So yeah. So on December 20th, all those reports got delivered, and I think it was a lot. I think it was a lot because it was, and the more you read it, the more you learn, right? So not only is it Director of National Intelligence in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate executive department. So let's talk about executive departments, U.S. government. The cabinet includes vice president and the heads of 15 executive departments. Secretaries of Ag, Commerce, Defense, Education, Energy, Health and Human Services, Homeland Security, Housing and Urban Development, Interior, Labor, State, Transportation, Treasury, and Veterans Affairs. Oh, as well as the Attorney General. So the vice president was privy. But they were all there together trying to formulate a plan. And they worked for that whole week from like the 20th to the 26th or 7th before they went home for vacation. I just want to point that out. And then we are in section 1B. Okay, for everybody asking me. Okay, Executive Order 13848 is real and it comes with time frames. And the first 45 days is over. As of December 20th. And we are in the second of 45 days. Okay. And we're in part B, where it says within 45 days of receiving the assessment and information described in Section 1A of this order, the Attorney General and the Secretary of Homeland Security, in consultation with the heads of any other appropriate agencies and as appropriate state and local officials, shall deliver to the President, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Defense, a report evaluating with respect to the United States election that is subject of the assessment described in Section 1A, the extent of which, foreign interference, has all relevant agencies, transmit information, Okay? Okay? Okay. And then, good morning, everyone. Did I miss anything juicy? I don't know about juicy. I guess the juiciest thing that we know of is Bezos' yacht getting raided, and the feds were on his boat for like 3.5 hours. These CEOs, man, they're under duress. Yeah, because here's my theory. All these rich motherfuckers tried to buy this election, and they're all gonna get caught in their assets seized. And it's not like we haven't read documents that says that they can seize your assets. But yeah, in addition to that, okay, so it's 45, 45, 30, okay? So after this second set of 45 days, there's another 30 days in section F. It's still section 1F. No later than 30 days following the date of this order, The Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Attorney General, Secretary of Homeland Security, the Director of National Intelligence shall develop a framework for the process that will be used to carry out their respective responsibilities pursuant to this order. The framework, which may be classified in whole or in part, shall focus on ensuring that agencies fulfill their responsibilities pursuant to this order in a manner that maintains methodological consistency, protects law enforcement or other sensitive information and intelligence sources and methods, maintains an appropriate separation between intelligence functions and policy and legal judgments, ensures that efforts to protect electoral processes and institutions are insulated from political bias, and respects the principles of free speech and open debate. So, for the record, we are talking about Executive Order 13848 today. We also came across, 14024 that was referenced. Well, you know what's funny, Lori, is that these billionaires love themselves some prisons, and they're all invested in the prison system. And they're even I think some of them are even building prisons they'll sit in themselves. So it's funny you should say that, because those rich motherfuckers are also invested in the fucking prison system. So, haha, joke's on you. Joke's on you, billionaire. You were building your own tomb. You know what I mean? You're doing it to yourself. I hope you splurged on the mattresses. I'm just saying, sleep's important. Not if you're in prison, though. So everybody knows. Brasher just said 3,000 beds incoming just north of me. Watch them put MTG there. I'm telling you. That would be the best. That would be the best. But yeah, I think the cat's not all the way out of the bag. That's what I'll say. In terms of like, I've been trying to tell even these boys, right? Like these boys were like, so what's going to go on with this election? Like, doesn't something happen on January 6th? Doesn't Donald Trump just get inaugurated on the 20th? And it's like, one, no, I don't know, is the correct answer. For everyone that's like, isn't this just going to go this way? No, I don't know. But here's what I can tell you. There are way too many people's jobs hanging in the fucking balance for it just to go. Think about how crazy. This is a crazy time to be alive. Saying anything else, you've had to put blinders on for this to not be, like, for the record, for those of you that like gossip, I'm better than gossip. The shit that we're talking about is true. And it kind of feels like gossip because no one fucking knows about this shit. Okay? So my boys were asking me, well, doesn't he just get, then January 6th, January 20th, like this, it's just over, right? And I'm like, no. First of all, we have no fucking clue what's going to happen. But here's what has to happen first. And again, I have this as a perspective because I know people are wondering what's going on in that big old brain of yours. January 3rd, fucking tomorrow, the House has to elect a new speaker. Let me just say it like this. It ain't going to be Mike Johnson. There's no golden pony coming to save the Republican Party. I'm sorry. The Democrats are in lockstep. They'll support their candidate. But yeah, I don't think they're getting a speaker elected in time. Let's put a pin in that. Now you know how I feel. They're not going to elect somebody. What does this mean? This means you can't seat your new Congress. This means on January 6th, you're going to have a hard time certifying a fucking election. Right? Or whatever exactly happens on the 6th. That's going to be a problem. Is that the reading of the electoral votes? Is that technically what that's called? Okay. You're going to have a hard time there. And that actually throws off January 20th too, and that's all naturally. Okay? That doesn't have anything to do with investigations or none of that shit. That's just like these things are supposed to happen tomorrow and the 6th and the 20th. And I think those time frames are fucked up because the Republican Party's full of morons that are not on the same page and they're not united. And I know that there's a lot of people out there like, but none of that sounds like it's going to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. I digress. I digress. I think there's a myriad of reasons he cannot be president. Because a lot of people are saying, is Donald Trump transferring his shares of Truth Social to his son? Is that him gonna be able to sign the emoluments clause because he's divested? And again, I've said it's actually a crime because as soon as he transferred those funds to his son, they lost money. And I'm like, I'm not an idiot. It can't be legal to transfer the ownership of, I mean, you have like ownership level shares in a company, and you transfer the wealth and then leave, and they dump in value. You're not legally liable for that. Wasn't the whole thought process that it was Donald Trump's social media website and that like he's the one in control here? And he gave it a control away in my eyes. In my eyes, I can be wrong. I'm allowed to be wrong, right? But people are like, does that make him more likely to take the necessary steps to become president? Is that what he's doing? And it's like, no, they broke the law, and it's just a coincidence. Their assets are being frozen. They're not able to use their credit cards, their debit cards. The only thing that they're able to use is cash. And how do I know that this is happening? Because Laura Loomer and Nick Fuentes went to social media talking about how they can no longer use debit cards, credit cards, their bank accounts are frozen. You could give me crypto. I think Nick Fuentes was trying to get people to give him crypto. Fucking Laura Loomer was literally hitting people up for cash, is what I heard. So those are the people that are having money problems, right? What's True Social stock valued at? I know it lost 6% once the news of him, but I'll look it up. Truth Social stock price. Market Watch. It's at 34.44. Is that what it is? The Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation? Okay. Yeah, let's keep an eye on that. It's about $34. He's transferred ownership. Like I said, it lost 6% after the announcement alone. I expect it to crater. And again, I gotta feel like there's some legal culpability there. And I'm not even a lawyer. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But in my brain, it's like my brain is going, that has to be breaking a law. That has to be like laundering, not even laundering money, transferring ownership of a stock that's your company, and you transfer the ownership out of your name. And I had said this, if y'all have been paying attention this whole time, I had said that something's fucked up there, because because he's worth almost $4 billion. And 85% of his valuation, of that $4 billion valuation, so 85% is north of 3 billion, right? North of $3 billion of his valuation is built into Truth Social. And so if he transfers shares of that and its value craters, also he could fucking become president. Like, it's not worth it, Don. And again, I'm not, this isn't me supporting Donald Trump. This is me like, I hope someone is telling Donald, you don't have to go through with this shit. Like, you could just concede and plea out and go golf the rest of your life. It doesn't have to be like this, Don. You don't have to hold on so tight. You don't have to win presidency to pardon yourself and shit. Like, you're hosed. Beyond hosed. His parents, his kids, I'm telling you, once his kids are in charge of him, they're gonna toss him aside too. Yeah, he put his TS stock in a trust. Yeah, for his son. He put it all in his son's name. In a trust in his son's name, Valerie. That's what makes it even worse, is that he gave it to his kid. Talk about nepotism. He could have just placed it in a blind trust. It doesn't have to be. This feels like significant and getting swept under the table. Here's an article from Business Insider. Sorry, there's a paywall. I fucking hate it. I keep in mind I don't talk about this often enough, and while we do that, let's do music. Okay, so instead of ads on this thing, why can't he make Bond for EJ Carroll? I don't know if you guys remember this, but he can't make Bond because it was 464 million for the something or another, and the judge said he didn't even have 100. Didn't even have 100 million to his name. Yeah. So Joanne in the comments said, "Why can't he make Bond for E.G. Carroll, Eugene Carroll?" And Eugene Carroll is due 5 mil, right? Yes. Debrasher. That's one of the stories that I shared. Is I'd said Donald Trump is hosting a rally in D.C. on the 19th, and I said, here's a tell at why no one's planning to attend his inauguration on the 20th. And he's trying to cook up his audience in a repeat of January 6th. And that's how he's going to do it. Is he's going to hold a rally there on the 19th, expecting to be inaugurated on the 20th. And I'm telling you, babies, if there's one thing I'm smelling, he ain't getting inaugurated on the 20th. I can just smell it. There's too much going on, Don. There's too much going on. Yep. And again, we got a lot of days. A lot of days between now and the 20th. And I haven't one of the things that I've seen that I know shit's going to pop off. I can't remember which of these places I've read it. Like whether it was the prosecuting election crimes document or 13848 or where it was. No, you're cool, Basher. I don't mind rehashing the shit. But yeah, so that everybody knows, like, Donald Trump's got a rally scheduled for the 19th in D.C., and he's supposed to be inaugurated on the 20th, right? Like, that's the thought process. And there's all this shit to Eugene Carroll like they did to Rudy G. Because he don't have it. Because the thing about it is they're trying to take it from him. I just don't think he's got nearly the money. One of the things I've been saying for years about Donald Trump is that he's not nearly as wealthy as he makes himself out to be. And I don't think he's got it like that. I think that he's been broke for a long time. I think his valuation right now, that valuation he had, $3+ billion in Truth Social. Like I said, I think he's about to lose a lot of money on that now that his name ain't on it anymore, and that was the whole draw. Whole draw. I think we're just. Oh, by the way, speaking of like a Tesla Cybertruck blowing up in front of a Trump casino, right? Kind of signifying their relationship. Um, Tesla is like recalling like 700,000 vehicles due to like is it the airbags or is it the something's wrong with like all these Cybertrucks. Oh, you want to talk about a moment of zen? Let's have a moment of zen. So keep in mind like my broke since daddy died. Ding 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 ding. So fuck, I forgot what I was to say, pressure. Moment of zen. So keep in mind what had happened was after the election, you just started blocking people on social media posting like pro Donald Trump shit, right? I just want to point out those same motherfuckers that have been gloating about Donald Trump, they were they were mum is the fucking word, okay? And it wasn't us. It wasn't Taylor and I, our fucking combative asses. It wasn't us. Somebody beat them to the punch. Like, don't fucking talk about politics. So we had a really nice Christmas. And understand, I'm old now, and that Christmas doesn't have anything to do with me, and it shouldn't. And it was all about these kids, right? But I wanted to share this with you because it was like, haha. So we're leaving, getting ready. We're kind of departing. Is like we were in the living room. There was 20 people in the fucking living room, open fucking Christmas presents. It was tons of a lot. It was a lot. Taylor and I were sitting side by side, like holding hands. It was like being on a shitty roller coaster. It was fucking awful. Thankfully, none of them kids tried to like run and jump on my lap and hit me in the face with a Lego and shit. None of that. So Christmas goes off kind of without a hitch, and we're all kind of like leaving the room. The kids have run away to their rooms with all their toys. The parents are in the room. The men, for the record, they went out and sat in the garage in the cold on the concrete and played cards. Like, ugh. And so Taylor and I are kind of mingling before we're leaving, and we're in the living room, and it's like my father-in-law, my wife's father, Trumper. I think his wife was Carlos in her too, and then my brother-in-law, sister, so my sister-in-law. And she says as she leaves, I don't know who she was telling, so that's why I'm telling you this. But I think she was telling us. She said her husband got rid of his Cybertruck. And I was like, I didn't know you had a fucking Cybertruck. That's super dumb. Yeah, nothing being spoken about a MAGA rally on the 19th. Exactly. Exactly. We're talking about it here, right? So, as we're leaving the room, the living room that we had just had Christmas in, my sister-in-law stops and she's not looking at me. She's not looking at my wife. She's kind of like generally speaking to the room. Who's left in the room? She says, "Blah blah blah." Got rid of his Cybertruck. And in my head, I was like, "Oh, thank God," because he has like a young baby and shit. And I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness you're getting rid of that piece of shit." And she's like, "Yeah, he wanted a truck back, and it really wasn't worth the money. It wasn't that much. It's not that much better than a normal truck, and he liked his pickup truck." Um, so I want to point out that not only did that happen, that's like a moment of zen for us. No fight. Nobody got into an argument and like hated life. My sister-in-law is just like, yeah, my husband got rid of his Cybertruck. He went back and got a used Chevy Silverado. So for the record, in my eyes, that's fucking awesome. Like that is such a good story. It's like he kind of went down the path of the tech bro and he hit a Cybertruck early cuz he makes good money. He basically is in charge at Deer Creek. at the big concert venue. He's like in charge of that. So of course he gets good money. But for him to give up his Cybertruck to go buy like a couple-year-old Chevy Silverado is fucking great. Yep, yep. But that I tell you that story, which is a real story, uh, to also say like, hey, they are recalling the shit out of Cybertrucks right now. Um, I have I can't remember recalls on this level. I want to say the Ford Explorer. My parents had the Ford Explorers when they were being heavily recalled in the early '90s, I think, early to mid '90s, maybe mid to late '90s. I could be fucking wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Ford Explorer. It had a high rollover rate, if I remember that correctly, and they were doing something with like the suspension was fucked up, and like people also put these racks on top of their Explorers and shit, and it just made them topple over. Anyway, I know we're completely off on a fucking random tangent, but we're kind of talking about like recalls. Cybertrucks are fucking dangerous. Um, I never thought in a million fucking years, by the way, when Elon Musk came on the scene, took over at fucking Tesla, I did not see them shitting the bed as a car manufacturer. Um, Again, once you learn about who Elon Musk really is, that he's not a college graduate, he's a dropout. Once you learn those things, it's like, oh, he didn't do all of the work. Oh, you can fucking tell. Um, so yeah, we've had a nice long show. Yeah, hour and 45. Love it. But one of the things that I do on my show, you notice I don't play music for you. I don't make you listen to music, right? I could do that, but I choose not to. And instead, what I do is I say this show has a couple theme songs. Okay, one that we start with. Okay, and that's Edwin Starr's War. So every now and then you'll catch me singing War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Okay. And then the other song, in addition to War, that we close our show with is Eat the Rich. And instead of playing the music for you and making your ears bleed, okay, I'm just going to send you the YouTube videos for those. I like music videos. So that Edwin Starr video is the 1969 music video. Like, it's super interesting to me. Dude, I grew up on, I was an MTV kid. Okay. I was a TRL kid. Okay. I was a real world road rules challenge kid. You understand? Like, so music videos are always the shit. And like, obviously, talking about music that's like 50 fucking years old, they're relevant because it feels like we're in a perpetual state of war, right? And then people always wonder, like, how do you feel about the super rich? And it's like, dude, even fucking rich people write music about hating other rich people. Okay? So, if you ever wanted to, like, I wonder how he feels about it. Dude, I like Eat the Rich from Aerosmith. Okay? So, yeah. Definitely, like I said, yesterday was sort of an anomaly for me because I've been like really consistent. Hadn't missed a fucking day. But again, it was a holiday. But I try not to make that as an excuse. Not when you're supposed to be live every day. Um, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Again, we try to operate in reality, right? Like we're talking about things that actually happened. I might make some inferences and connect some dots that don't necessarily need to be connected, Jared. But that doesn't overall decrease the quality of the content. Like you are getting the truth, and then you also get somebody who's willing to, because most people won't do that. They don't want to make any inferences or possibly connect dots because they don't like being wrong. Dude, I want to be wrong more. I feel like I'm fucking right a lot. I feel like we'll talk about stuff, and then stuff happens, and you're like, oh, I was right about that because we were operating in reality and we're talking about things that have actually happened, right? Instead of glossing over shit and not talking about any of it, right? Which is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm hearing from other people are like, I can't even watch the news anymore. It's like they're not in reality. And it's like, and then people will give my show a shot and they're like, I was blown away. Every story had a link to like a major news outlet also covering it where I could get more information if I wanted it. You talked about a ton of stuff. So you were in 90 minutes, we're blowing away the news because one, we're talking about shit they're not even talking about. And two, the volume of content in the show is thick. This is a thick show. Okay. So I'm glad to see people saying like I enjoy the show. Fuck yeah, that's what I came here to do. Okay, so have a good rest of your day. If shit continues to pop off, we'll be on here